All our lives we've heard the same phrase. Cheese makes you gain weight. Cheese clogs your arteries. Cheese is dangerous. And many people over 60 became afraid to even put a shaving of it on their plate. But there's one detail almost nobody mentions. In the right way, some cheeses can become strong allies for people who are losing muscle mass with age. And I'm not talking about a miracle or an internet trend. I'm talking about something very simple, real food that fits into everyday life and can help your body hold on to, and even recover, part of the strength that has been slipping away little by little. Because that's how it happens, right? One day you notice that getting up from a chair has become harder. Climbing stairs takes more effort. Carrying grocery bags feels heavier than it used to. Opening a jar or twisting a lid feels like a struggle. And the most irritating part is when the person thinks, "But I already eat protein." They eat eggs, chicken, beans, and still feel like their strength doesn't keep up. That has an explanation. After a certain age, the body becomes more resistant to turning protein into muscle. It's not your fault. It's a change in the body itself. But you can work around it with strategy. And here's the part few people know. It's not just the amount of protein that matters. Some foods bring natural triggers that help muscle rebuild better. And certain cheeses, specifically, have combinations of protein and other components that can give the push your body needs. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 cheeses that make a difference for people who want to fight muscle loss after 60. I'm going to rank them from third to first, and I'll explain how to use them in a simple way, with realistic portions, and without making it complicated. Before we start, answer 2 things here, very directly. Do you feel like you're losing strength even though you think you eat properly? And in everyday life, is there any task that has become harder? Climbing stairs, getting out of bed, carrying groceries, opening jars. Write it in the comments, because that helps a lot in understanding what's hitting you the hardest. Now let's go to number 3. It looks small on the plate, almost like a detail, but it can be the first step toward you feeling the difference in your strength without relying on powder, capsules, or empty promises. Let's start with number 3, Parmesan. It's a cheese almost everyone knows, but almost no one uses as a tool. Parmesan usually shows up as a detail. A little on top of pasta, a shaving in soup, a few flakes on the plate. But behind that detail, there is something important. It's a well-aged, highly concentrated cheese, and that makes it deliver a kind of food signal that helps the body more easily switch into muscle rebuilding mode. In simple words, for muscle to grow, or at least be maintained, it needs material, but it also needs the right push to use that material. After 60, that push becomes harder to happen. That's why so many people feel like they eat protein and still don't improve in strength, firmness, and stability. Parmesan helps because it concentrates parts of the protein that are very useful for turning on that signal in the body. And there's another point in its favor. Because it is aged, it usually has very little of the sugar in milk. Many people who do poorly with milk or feel bloated with some dairy tolerate well-aged cheeses better. That isn't the rule for everyone, of course, but it's common. And because it has a strong flavor, you don't need a huge portion for it to show up in your routine. Now, the trick here is to use it the right way. It's not about eating a lot of Parmesan and thinking that will solve everything. The idea is to use it as support, in small and consistent portions, with a little intelligence about timing. An easy way to think about it is to split it into 2 moments of the day. A little after some light movement in the morning, and a little with your evening meal. And when I say light movement, I'm not talking about the gym or heavy training. It can be a short walk, taking care of the yard, sweeping the house, going up and down a few steps carefully. Anything that wakes up the body. After that, your muscle usually accepts better this kind of food that helps with rebuilding. And at night, a little along with your meal serves as support for the body to recover while it rests. In practice, you can grate a little over scrambled eggs, put it on top of vegetable soup, finish a plate of beans or lentils, sprinkle it over sautéed greens, or even mix it into rice with vegetables. Simple stuff, everyday kitchen stuff. But there's one detail that makes a difference. If you can, prefer a wedge and grate it fresh. The pre-grated version from the store sometimes comes with things added so it won't clump and so it lasts longer. I'm not saying it's forbidden, but if you want to get more out of it, the simpler and purer option is usually the better route. And it's also worth checking the label. The fewer strange ingredients, the better. Now, there does need to be an honest warning. Parmesan is salty. For many people, that doesn't become a problem when the portions are small and the rest of the day is balanced. The problem is when Parmesan shows up in a day that already has a lot of salt from other sources, like ready-made food, processed meats, canned foods, packaged broths, those kinds of things. Then the body can feel it. And for people who already need to control blood pressure, the way is to use less and be even more attentive to the whole picture. It's not fear, it's balance. Let me put you in a common scene, so you can understand why this works in real life. Imagine someone who has always been independent, but suddenly starts noticing that the body doesn't keep up. Carrying 2 grocery bags becomes heavy. Getting up from a chair takes momentum. Climbing a flight of stairs feels unsafe. The person starts holding onto furniture, walking more slowly, and without realizing it, starts doing fewer things for fear of falling. But the less they do, the weaker they get. It's an annoying cycle. When the person adds small, consistent strategies, a little more well-used protein, a food that gives that signal to the muscle, and a little frequent movement, in a few weeks they start to feel a difference that isn't just strength. It's confidence. It's the feeling that my body is with me again. And that's why I put Parmesan at number 3. It's simple, easy to fit in, and works well as a lever. But it isn't the most powerful on the list for one reason. It helps switch rebuilding on, but there's still one piece missing that many people ignore. Know what it is? The night. Many people think sleeping is just rest, but sleep is also a long period without food, and the body keeps working. To maintain basic functions, it uses energy and resources. In older people, that period can turn into a moment when muscle pays the bill, especially when the person already eats little protein throughout the day. Then the person wakes up with that feeling of a heavy body, weak legs, or the impression that it took a while to get going. That's where number 2 comes in. Cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is that white soft cheese with curds that many people look at and think, this is diet food, or it doesn't taste like anything. But it is a very interesting tool for people who want to hold on to muscle. Its greatest value is in the type of protein it delivers, which is usually slower to digest. And why does that matter? Because slow protein works like a gradual supply. Instead of the body receiving everything at once and finishing quickly, it keeps receiving it little by little for hours. For people over 60, that can be exactly what was missing to reduce nighttime loss and help muscles stay maintained. A very simple explanation helps here. With age, the body becomes less efficient at turning protein into muscle. So sometimes the person eats something high in protein at lunch and thinks, that's taken care of. But the body doesn't use all of it the way it used to. And at night, when several hours go by without eating, the muscle can be more used up than it should be. Eating cottage cheese close to bedtime is like putting in a silent support that keeps working while you rest. It's not about filling your stomach, it's about feeding the muscle intelligently. The most practical way is a moderate portion, close to bedtime. Many people do well with something like a small bowl. No need to overdo it. And for people who think it's bland, you can improve the flavor in a simple way. Cinnamon, some fruit, a little honey if you tolerate it well, or even mixing it with something lightly savory, like tomato and olive oil. What I would avoid is turning this into a sugar-loaded dessert with lots of syrup, lots of cookies, lots of sweets. Because too much sugar at night can disturb sleep and also throw off your energy balance. The idea is to support, not become a burden. There are two common traps here. The first is choosing versions that seem light but have little protein. Some cottage cheese is more watery or fluffier and gives you less than you imagine. It's worth checking the label and choosing one that has a good amount of protein per serving. The second trap is using cottage cheese only in the morning and forgetting about nighttime. In the morning it helps, of course, but its strength usually shows up when you use it at the time when the body goes the longest without food. And there's another point worth paying attention to. Some brands add a lot of salt. If you tend to swell or need to control blood pressure, prefer versions with less salt. Today there's also lactose-free cottage cheese, and for many people that makes things much easier. The goal is for this to become routine, not a food that leaves you uncomfortable. Now imagine another common scene. The person wakes up tired, with the feeling that their legs are heavy. They get up, and it feels like the body takes time to warm up. They go to the bathroom holding onto the wall, walk to the kitchen a little slowly, and start the day with that feeling of, I'm getting weak. Many times, that isn't just age. It's lack of support for the muscle over a long period, night after night. When that person starts having a portion of cottage cheese before bed and keeps that up for a few weeks, many people report something simple but valuable. Waking up steadier, with more stability, and with less of that empty body feeling. And when the body wakes up better, the person moves more, does more things, and the cycle starts to reverse. So up to this point, you have two important pieces. Parmesan as support to better switch on rebuilding, and cottage cheese as support to reduce loss during the night and feed the muscle for longer. But there's still a third piece missing, and it's the one that acts faster and works very well with that moment after movement, even if it's just light movement. And that's why number one goes to a cheese that many people also underestimate, but that has a very strong role when the goal is to fight muscle loss and recover mobility. And that's exactly where we're going now. Number one on the list is ricotta. Ricotta seems way too simple to be at the top, right? It doesn't have that sophisticated cheese status, it isn't the strongest in flavor, and it isn't the most expensive thing on the shelf. And even so, when the subject is regaining strength after 60, it becomes a very smart choice, mainly for one very easy reason to understand. It delivers protein the body can use quickly, at a moment when the muscle is more ready to take advantage of it. Think of it this way. Parmesan helps click the body into building. Cottage cheese helps sustain the muscle for hours while you sleep. Ricotta comes in as that direct help after movement. And when I say movement, again, I'm not talking about a hard workout. It can be a 10-minute walk, a lap around the block, taking care of the plants, climbing stairs slowly, stretching in the living room. Anything that gets you out of idle mode. After that kind of movement, the muscle tends to become more receptive. It's as if it says, Now I can better accept what comes in to repair. Ricotta fits this moment very well because it comes from a process that leaves behind a liquid rich in protein. The result is a soft cheese, easy to eat, with the protein that usually enters the bloodstream faster. In real-life terms, that means less waiting and a better chance for the body to use it to recover muscle fiber and support strength and stability. And there's another important point that almost nobody notices. After a certain age, it's not just lack of muscle. There is also silent wear and tear that makes it harder for muscle to stay strong. Everyday things, mild inflammation, body stress, poor sleep, too much sugar, inactivity. All of that keeps stealing efficiency. Ricotta ends up helping because it comes in as a food that supports recovery without being heavy, without requiring difficult chewing, and without depending on complicated recipes. For many people, that makes a difference because not everyone has a huge appetite, and not everyone can handle meat or heavier foods every day. Now let's get to what matters: how to use this in a practical way. The best time for ricotta is close to the moment when you moved your body. It doesn't have to be timed down to the minute, but the idea is not to let that movement die without support. You walked, came back home, had some water, and then ate something simple with ricotta. It can be at breakfast, lunch, or as a snack. What matters is creating the connection. You moved your body, you fed the muscle. And you can do this without becoming a chef. Half a cup of ricotta on top of a slice of whole grain bread with tomato and a drizzle of olive oil already becomes a good meal. Mixing ricotta into scrambled eggs also works very well, because it improves the texture and increases protein without effort. Another simple idea is blending it with banana and a spoonful of peanut butter or a few nuts if you like. It turns creamy, easy to swallow, and gives energy without needing too much sugar. And here comes an important caution that changes everything. A lot of people turn ricotta into a dessert with a lot of sugar, chocolate, cookies, syrup, overly sweet jam, and eat it after an already heavy meal. Then the body gets a sugar spike, and that can hurt two things. First, your sleep and energy. Second, the rebuilding goal. Not because ricotta automatically turns into fat, but because too much sugar throws the body off balance and you lose efficiency. If you sweeten it, keep it small and simple. The focus here is strength, not dessert. Another thing that gets in the way is using ricotta only once in a while. It works better when it becomes routine. It doesn't have to be every day forever, but using it on some days of the week consistently is what makes the body notice that it has become support. A lot of people want results with 1 day yes, 10 days no. But muscle responds to repetition. It's brick by brick work. You place one brick today, another tomorrow, and when you notice, the wall is standing. It's also worth remembering something basic that few people pay attention to: water. When you increase protein in your routine, even through normal food, your body needs hydration. You don't need to become obsessive, just remember to drink water throughout the day. Many people over 60 feel less thirst and drink too little without noticing. Then come fatigue, cramps, a feeling of weakness, and the person thinks it's age, when sometimes it's just lack of water added to low protein. So ricotta and water usually go very well together in this strategy. Now let me tell you about a scene I see a lot. The person starts losing weight without wanting to. The arm gets thinner. The leg loses firmness. They start putting more weight on one leg than the other, dragging a foot, and suddenly a cane appears, just to be safe. And then comes the sentence that breaks your heart. I think pretty soon I won't be able to go out alone anymore. Many times, what is behind that is a diet with too little useful protein and too little consistency, added to too little movement. When that person adds a portion of ricotta on set days, together with short walks, they start gaining something that goes beyond muscle. They gain autonomy. They begin trusting their own leg again. They start going out with less fear. And that changes life, because fear of falling keeps a person inside the house, and being stuck inside the house speeds up weakness. And that's why I put ricotta at number 1. It is soft, easy, accessible, and works very well with that moment when the muscle is asking for repair. But here I need to be fair. Ricotta is not magic. If a person eats ricotta and spends the whole day sitting down, eating a lot of sweets, and sleeping badly, the result will be small. What makes a difference is the simple combination: a little light movement, consistency with these foods, fewer ultra-processed foods, and enough water. So if you look at the 3 cheeses together, each one plays a role. Parmesan comes in as that support that helps the body switch on rebuilding better. Cottage cheese comes in as the quiet nighttime support, so the muscle does not have to pay the bill while you sleep. And ricotta comes in as the quick response after movement, helping the body make better use of what you eat and turn that into real strength. Now the question is, which of these can you fit more easily into your routine this week? Because when you choose one and start with something small and consistent, that is when the body begins to respond. And to close, let me tie everything together in a simple reminder, so you don't forget when you're at the store or looking in the refrigerator. One cheese helps you switch the process on, another helps sustain you through the night, and the other helps you recover right after movement. With that in mind, it becomes much easier to use food in your favor. And that is exactly what takes us to the final closing, with a summary of what you need to remember and the simplest way to start without getting lost. So let's wrap everything up in a very simple way, so you can truly remember it and use it. If you are over 60 and feel like you are losing strength, the main message is this: it is not just eating more protein, it is getting the body to make better use of protein. And these 3 cheeses come in as practical tools, easy to fit in, without depending on powders, capsules, or pretty promises. Parmesan, number 3, works like that push that helps the muscle wake up for rebuilding. It is a strong, concentrated cheese that you use in small amounts on top of normal food. It does not need to become the main dish. It comes in as support, and for many people that already makes a difference in firmness and daily life. Just remember the point about salt, small portion, and attention to the rest of your diet. Cottage cheese, number 2, is the support of the night. It is useful because it feeds the muscle slowly, for hours, exactly when you go a long time without eating. Many people don't notice it, but nighttime is when the body can steal from muscle if support is missing. And when you use this simple strategy before bed, you help the body hold on to more of what it gained during the day. And ricotta, number 1, is the quick response after movement. You walked, moved your body, did some light activity. Ricotta fits right there because it is easy to eat, easy to digest, and goes well with simple foods. It helps turn that effort from the day into real recovery. And when you repeat that several times during the week, the body starts responding with more stability, more confidence while walking, and more autonomy. Now, if you want to start in the easiest way possible, do this. Choose just one of the 3 to test for 1 or 2 weeks. Just one. You do not need to change your whole life all at once. Just add a little consistency and notice how you feel in everyday life. Climbing stairs, getting up from a chair, carrying grocery bags, walking with less insecurity. Small victories matter a lot because they become motivation to keep going. And I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 cheeses are you going to test first? What do you feel the most difficulty with today? Weak legs, weak arms, balance, fatigue, or everything together? Write it in the comments, because I read what you write, and that also helps other people who are going through the same thing. If this video helped you, leave a like now, because that helps this content reach more people over 60 who need this information without unnecessary talk. And share it with a family member or a friend, because sometimes someone we love is getting weaker and thinks it's just age, when it can improve with simple things. Thank you for staying until the end. Comment below which one you will choose and how your strength is today. See you next time.